3, 2, 1.
Welcome to another episode of the PolitiPop podcast, the podcast where we take your favorite pop culture media and discuss the social and political themes within. I am your co-host, Mike Booch, a.k.a. Hilo Ganja Evolved, a.k.a. Master Keef 117, a.k.a. IX Booch XI, a.k.a. XX Booch XX, a.k.a. Forerunner, more like 420 Runner, a.k.a. ODST, Orbital Drop Shock Toker, a.k.a. Guilty Snark, a.k.a. The High Dact, a.k.a. Bake Me When You Weed Me.
And I'm Ty, a.k.a. Rel, RDR2, a.k.a. Raider2, a.k.a. The Rel.
Woo, baby, that's right. And today we are talking about the Halo game slash movie slash anime slash the Halo franchise. That's what we are talking about. And we have a special guest with us today. He does need an introduction, okay? You asked me where I was the moment I met today's guest. My God, it was 2004. We were in the shit. Beaver Creek, Halo 2, surrounded by more zombies than we could count. Odds are I was one of those zombies, throwing weapons to the resistance because that's what Booch the friendly zombie does. One man was standing alone in the face of such daunting odds. That man was the Pope 117. As the hordes of undead crawled towards this lone hero, he yelled in defiance, "You want a s'more?" as his weapons fired into the green armor of his would-be executioners. His chamber shot its last round. Pope said his last prayer. Just as he looked to the sky to take him, a shadow was cast upon him and the zombies. A shadow of death. Tyler Chattel, better known back then as Rel, descended from the heavens with a fury that would make the great Zeus himself weep. As he began killing the slobbering, hungry masses, he turned to Pope, "Come with me if you want to live." Or maybe it was, "Don't make a girl a promise if you know you can't keep it." In all reality, it was probably, "Sup, guy?" Point is, this moment marked the inception of an incredible brotherhood. Rel had given Pope a new lease on life. He would now go on to play more Halo, get hit by a car, survive that shit, visit New York, join the armed forces, survive that shit, and visit New York some more. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our guest today, the Pope.
You think I'd miss this party?
Oh, baby, that's right.
Yes.
We go back quite a ways.
It's a fucking high school, man.
Wait, were you in high school when we met you?
Yeah, 2004.
Holy crap, that's right. We're going to be talking a lot about Halo, the games, what it has to do with the real world and military-industrial complex. But really, today we are excited to have the Pope here with us. Ty and myself go way back with the Pope. Many hours put into Xbox Live, playing video games, and a bunch of in-person hours that we never thought we would have because Pope lives further away than we do. I don't want to give your exact. I'm sure there's only like 10 people in your town. I can't say where you live. Then
it's essentially an Indian concentration camp. That's a hint.
Oh, is that what
God.
it is?
Yes.
I didn't know that was a thing. All right. So
I think that might narrow it down.
Okay, there you go. So let's start off with the games. We're talking about the first one, and we'll go through each one since then, each of the good ones at least. Halo Combat Evolved. Ty, do you have a plot to bring the listeners into it?
I sure do. Halo is set in the 26th century with the player assuming the role of Master Chief, a cybernetically enhanced super soldier. The Chief is accompanied by Cortana, an artificial intelligence. Players battle various aliens as they attempt to uncover the secrets of the eponymous Halo, a ring-shaped artificial world. And what a game it was.
Indeed, this wild sci-fi game. I thought it was interesting how when it came out, like, you had Call of Duty back then, right?
Me personally, or was Call of Duty around?
No, just in general, was the world in the same world of Call of Duty at the same time?
I think Medal of Honor was the more popular, World War shooter back then. I think Call of Duty was starting around the same time, but it didn't quite get the same fame right away.
So we did have a lot of war games, and a lot of them were based on wars that have already happened. So it was interesting to see, a sci-fi game that has very similar themes, I'd think, and bring it into bring it into the future. You're not, first of all, you're not killing other humans, which I thought was an interesting choice. You're actually killing a bunch of aliens.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great things about the first Halo. I think it came out at a really important time. Obviously, it was the flagship title for the original Xbox. Probably wouldn't have Xbox consoles without it. It really was what sold, I think, the most games probably for them for many, many years. And it wasn't open world, but it gave kind of the idea that it was. When you land on the planet Halo, on the ring, you can like kind of explore and go around. It was so huge, the maps.
It was,
and I feel like a lot
sweeping landscape.
Yeah, like a lot of shooters don't do that, or at least they didn't do that back then. You were very tight corridors and things like that. So I think for that alone, it was pretty incredible. And obviously, it had co-op. You were driving around your Warthog with a buddy in the back. I mean, it was really unique, and it was the shooter that got me into shooters. I never enjoyed them before Halo.
Oh, really? I thought that was kind of always your thing. I never enjoyed shooters before that, and probably not since. I like a few, but really, I like Halo for being Halo, not for being a first-person shooter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Pope, when did you pick up Halo, the very first one?
I was a pretty big, pretty stubborn Nintendo fanboy for a very, very long time, and I absolutely refused to even look at Microsoft's Xbox as anything other than just treason, right? But a friend in as Christians tend to do. But I had a friend in high school who had invited me over to play fucking some game named Halo on Xbox, and it essentially changed my entire life overnight. It captivated me in a way that no video game ever had before. I dug into the extra media, the books. It was just some of the best storytelling, some of the best music, some of the best world building, visual details I've ever seen. And it continued on to Halo 2, which was even better, arguably.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how deep the lore is of Halo. It's really, really well written, really interesting. The novels really bring you into it. It's just, I think it's so unique in that regard. They really built this wonderful sci-fi world with thousands of years of history. We don't really see that too often. So I think they really accomplished something pretty special there.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too political here, but I know a lot of fans of the extended universe with Star Wars, they weren't a fan of the new movies, cherry picking some things, but completely changing the canon. Halo was pretty interesting in that, for the most part, it took the books and used it to enhance the games. It's the game was created, then the books were created, then that fed the game, and then it just kept building into something great that, if you never read the books, it's fine, but if you've listened to one on audiobook and then listened to your friend Ty tell you about the rest of the shit that's been going on in the universe, and then you play that new game, you're like, oh crap, they brought this in. That's super cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the expanded universe, I guess, if you want to use that example, for Star Wars.
I do.
The novels, the anime, the live action show, the comic books, it all helps build upon what the game set up in a really interesting way. Not always successful. I mean, I don't think all of that media was great. Some of it was good. I think the novels, for the most part, are pretty strong, especially the early ones, The Fall of Reach and novels chronicling, the Master Chief and his story.
But those books aren't canon anymore.
Wait, they're not?
No.
What did I say all that shit for?
It was Halo Reach is the new canon. Fall of Reach didn't happen.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's real shit, dude. Real shit. So just I
don't know. Well, not necessarily, because
I don't like this.
No.
They still adapted. They still adapted it into.
I remember
stuff.
reading the article. Bungie, it was Bungie at the time, said that Halo Reach is now the default story for the Fall of Reach.
I think they've redacted that. I'll look it up.
Please do. We'll put it in the show notes and sources at the end of the episode. Another big reason why we're talking about Halo, not just because we love it and most of the people that it brought into our lives and, the enjoyment that the game's given us, but also because it does seem to, while being a sci-fi game, have a lot of allegories to our real world, which is, what sci-fi does best, in my opinion. So here we do see a lot of a lot of parallels to the military-industrial complex. You know, they clearly took from the real world and kind of amped it up for the sake of this game. I don't think the first game, at least like in the story, it doesn't really shed a lot of light on that. But the one thing, or you can prove me wrong if you want. I was baked when I watched all the cutscenes, but the one of the first lines in the game is Cortana telling Captain Keyes, or is he Lieutenant Keyes by that point? Oh, thank God. Okay, Captain Keyes. This war has had enough dead heroes.
Yeah, well, it's just testament to how bloody the Covenant War is in the Halo series. That's what's really fascinating about the story. Is it's humanity with their backs against the wall. They're fighting an enemy that is dominating them on almost every front, and it makes for a really gritty storyline. I don't really get the military-industrial complex bit. It sounds like a military-industrial complex would probably be really beneficial in a alien galactic war, but I don't know.
Well, I guess the parallels that I see are just like the way that the Spartans are treated, especially like as the game goes along. I mean, we can skip straight to a moment in Halo 4 when, Master Chief, despite everything he's been through, like he's still just, they're still just giving him orders and shit. Del Rio's yelling at him and stuff, and like he's going on missions. Like that's all he ever does. The guy never has a break. And, his whole line at the end credits of the third one is "Wake me when you need me." Like it kind of, makes me think of just what is the treatment of a soldier in real life like? What kind of...
It's mostly you just get told what to do. That's basically it. You just stand around and you just get told what
accurate.
to do. Yeah.
Wake me when you need me. Tell me what to do.
Now, Pope, what branch were you in again?
I was in the Army. Stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia, the armpit of America.
Oh, yes, I have heard that.
The surrounding city, Savannah, is pretty well known for meth and prostitution.
So great. Now I know where to go. Yeah, right? That's no coincidence.
Oh, can I tell a fucking story real quick?
Of course you can.
Okay, so when I first showed up to fucking Fort Stewart, the fucking unit I was assigned to had just come back from Iraq, and they were all big dicks, you know what I mean? They all had seen their fucking action, blah, blah. They got their combat badges, and they were looking for some new fucking privates to fucking scuff up because they're fucking on their power trip, right?
Take it out on someone.
Right, so we show up, and my fucking new team leader, this scrawny little fucking punk kid named like Malachi or something like that, and he treated us like fucking shit for like months. Just like smoked the shit out of us, like deprived us of our fucking free time, all kinds of shit. Eventually, he gets kicked out of the fucking army for having child pornography on his computer.
What?
Now
so really, you got.
Now he denies this, of course, and I'm not going to sit here and claim that I know one way or the other. But I do know is that after we came back from Afghanistan about a year later, we went to Chili's or something because we were fucking having the munchies. And he was fucking serving us at the fucking Chili's. And it was the greatest fucking experience of my entire life. He stayed in Hinesville, fucking Georgia, like a fucking...
Oh, God.
I'm sorry, we don't say that one, no.
Technically, we don't. I can bleep it. It's fine. But so he served. He's a man of service. He's a serviceman. He served you at Chili's.
He's still serving. I mean, he's doing what he does best.
To serve to this day.
It's a beautiful thing. And of course, we know at the end of the last game, Master Chief also took a job at Chili's.
It all comes together. Holy shit. Hopefully he did not have child pornography on his computer.
The Master Chief is a victim of his own success in the Halo games. He expects to die anytime, any day. And it just never fucking happens. He just finds a way to survive every single time.
And, maybe he wants to die. Maybe his bad luck.
Oh, that's what it says in
that
famous Halo 3 cutscene when they, we think we lost the chief, and he's not yet. But he's not saying. God. I know.
It's chills.
I know.
Well, the interesting thing too is that the Spartans weren't designed for the Covenant War originally, right? It was for the Insurrectionist War.
That's correct.
When the outer colonies started to kind of rebel, because they felt like they weren't getting their fair share, right? That's what happens. They feel like the inner colonies were taking advantage of them, so they start a war, and Halsey kidnaps a bunch of children.
Not just starting a war. They were terrorists, Ty. Let's not be a terrorist.
They were terrorists. That's true. But they were much like the American patriots in the Revolutionary War, and so Halsey kidnapped a bunch of children, replaced them with clones that died very young.
Who's Halsey?
Dr. Catherine Halsey is the creator of the Spartan Project.
She was a scientist that was assigned to the Spartan Project. Yes. So Ty, she kidnapped the kids, and then what did she do to them?
She genetically engineered them and put them through military training. Many of them died, and the ones that didn't wound up like the Master Chief, enhanced, stronger than any humans around. The Spartan 2s.
And by the time Halo 1 comes around, Master Chief is the only Spartan who's left to fight this war, which it was great that you pointed out originally. It was a civil war. It was between humanity and its own colonies. At this point in the future, humankind has colonized space. Yes, Pope, what did I get wrong?
You're killing me here, Booch. You're killing me, all right?
All right, tell me. What is it?
That's why we have our historian here.
That's actually...
Your
flute in the background.
Yeah, by the time Halo 1 starts, the insurrection threat is far ended. It's done. The Covenant wiped them out a long time ago. So
that's right. I often do forget the timeline regarding the Great War. So yeah, but originally made to quell an insurrectionist thing. Turns out aliens attack humankind, and they're not just any aliens, are they? They are
the Covenant.
Religious extremists. Yes, the Covenant. Religious extremists. A bunch of different alien races united. In what mission again, Pope?
To exterminate humanity.
Oh wait, was that really it?
Yeah, it wouldn't. That's what's so fucking great about it is like it really is just that surface level. It really is just exterminate humanity. It's lovely.
But like there's a lot of complexities to the Covenant, I feel. You have like the prophets, right, who are kind of like their leaders, right? They're religious leaders, and then you have the elites who are kind of like their honor guard. You have the brutes. You've got the grunts, the jackals. You have all these different.
You really
species.
know what the fucking brutes did, right? I'm sorry. You had it all. You're like, yeah, they had the brutes, then they had the grunts.
Well, the brutes come in. They're really more important later when they take over from the elites. But yeah, I mean, basically you have this like these different species that are joined together. They kind of do what they're told by the prophets, right? Who are like their religious leaders. And they start this war. And then I think initially they think a lot of the Forerunner technology, which we haven't talked about yet, is like religious, right? That's what they originally think until they realize it's a weapon. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very, there's a lot of complexities to the Covenant. And they kind of go into that throughout the games and the different levels of the hierarchy there.
Another thing I found interesting is that in this time, technically, correct me if I'm wrong, the all of humanity, like there a United States at this point, or is it just the like all of humanity is one at this point, right? Because we've colonized.
I have no idea if the United States exists still in the Halo universe. There are certain, like they mentioned Sydney, so that certain countries and the certain states. Cities and stuff still exist, but I don't ever remember them mentioning anything in the United States.
Yeah, it's more of like the inner colonies and the outer colonies rather than like United States and Europe, and they don't really go into like that individualist anymore.
Keep in mind, this is like 500 years into the future, so
I guess things change when you colonize space, so they don't get into that.
But technically, the UNSC, the United Nations Space Command, it's all of humanity, from what I understand. I find it interesting that a lot of the main characters we have are American regardless.
Yeah, like voice actor choice, you mean?
Well, yeah. I seem to remember many of the Marines being British, actually.
Yeah, I thought there were some British guys in there. None of the main characters, though. I guess all the main characters are...
Was Jenkins British?
Jenkins was absolutely British.
I mean, his name is Jenkins, so I would hope so.
Jenkins, Johnson... The only one who I was going to say she might be American. Her name is Mendoza. She could still be American even if she has a Hispanic last name. That was a reference to the Aliens franchise, which I thought was a pretty cool reference.
Oh, that is kind of cool. Honestly didn't even think about it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and yet you noticed all the British soldiers. The whole thing.
I fucking did. I noticed those British soldiers,
They're with
man.
their ARs, and then all of a sudden, like, there's this dude with a musket and a red coat next to him.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess you got to imagine, like, all these people have now colonized space, right? So, like, you have people from all over Earth who are now, in space, and then they're having children out there. So it becomes less and less about your country and about your planet or your colony and things like that. So it just kind of changes the system, It's just it's a different version. But again, we still wind up fighting amongst ourselves. You have the insurrectionists, terrorist attacks and things like that. So history kind of repeats itself, just in a larger scale, I guess, until a force that can unite us, which I think is a common theme in a lot of sci-fi and stuff. Watchmen, obviously Halo. From the little bit I know about Star Trek, those kind of things kind of unite people against one force that's trying to eradicate them.
Yeah, and that's definitely the theme they use in this. The Civil War is over by the time, the aliens are attacking. Okay, we got to turn our attention to something else. Now, I have a question.
Yes.
Why do you think Master Chief was kept silent during most of the games? He's not really that kind of main character with a, quote, personality or who talks a lot. Why do you think he was kept silent?
I think originally it was because they were trying to make it almost seem like you're the Master Chief. How a lot of games will do, like, you're that character, but they didn't want to just do that, so they gave him a few lines. But I feel like they were trying not to take it away from you being that character. Later, I think it kind of adds to his character development, though, as he's not a chatty kind of guy, like he's a soldier. He's got one mission, he's got to do what he's got to do. He's not going to be walking around saying one-liners. I think Pope and I actually joked when Halo 4 was coming out that he was going to have like an accent and be like, check your corners, and like be like,
yeah,
like joking around and shit, like, oh,
character,
what the fuck?
isn't he?
He is. I think Cortana does the talking for him. She's kind of the chatty one.
I mean, he's a soldier. He's trained to keep his mouth shut. I mean, he just follows orders. That's basically it. Like, it really is just bare minimum. Any excess dialogue would probably just be to the it would just make the mission just fucking that more complicated probably for him.
Yeah, and I think if you look at, so Halo Combat Evolved, like, the plot is you wake up, you're the Master Chief, you wake up on the Pillar of Autumn, and it's under siege, right, by the Covenant. And you basically have to get a weapon, start fighting, through the corridors of the ship, and, very close quarters combat, and then you wind up having to drop down onto this very mysterious planet, the Halo Ring, right? And, when you get down there, you're kind of like on your own, except for a few Marines you run into here and there, just you and Cortana. I don't think Chief's going to be, he doesn't have a unit that he's giving orders to, like, Spartan Blue Team, which you learn about more in the books and will return later in Halo 5. Like, they're not there.
You don't have to talk about Halo 5, just putting it out.
We gotta.
All right.
We said perhaps we should move on to Halo 2, which is where the all the good stuff happens.
All right, hold on. Let me just see if I had anything else. Chief barely talks. That was great. Oh, yo, I dug so deep. All right, so we also find out that this might be applicable now more than ever. We're seeing humanity equipped to colonize space, but they can't deal with a biological threat. I thought that that was interesting. Another enemy of this game ends up being the Flood, who were this parasitic organism that feeds on every living thing it possibly can. And from here, it turns into from like an action game to a little bit of a horror game, which is a wild turn to make for a game like this.
Yeah, it's a pretty terrifying mission. I know it definitely freaked me out as a kid. And then, once you get through that area, you wind up, going to the library, which I think is one of the craziest missions in the Halo series.
Level. Yes.
You play that shit on Legendary, and you'll pull your fucking hair out, because like there's just so much flood coming at you.
It's gauntlet.
Yeah, I think it also was kind of like, I don't know if they planned it this way, but it happened right when like the zombie like revolution was happening. It was 2001. Zombies were fucking huge back then. Like we had, Dawn of the Dead remake would come out shortly. Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, 2004 and
World War Z was coming out soon. Like zombies were just like getting popular again.
Wait, Ty, hold
20
on.
days
I'm
later.
sorry. I gotta
What?
stop you there. This game came out in 2001.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, it was like it was only like a couple
To be
years
fair,
apart.
the
I feel like
zombie
zombies
craze
were getting
was-
World War
popular
Z
again.
was like
Long-lived.
2012.
Not the book.
Oh shit! I thought you were talking about the movie. I'm like,
No, fuck
Jesus.
that. We don't talk about the movie. All right. We talk about the book.
The movie is the same as Halo 5.
The zombie survival guy. I feel like 2000 to 2010 was like peak zombie time.
Oh well,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Everybody had that fucking book.
Everybody had that book. I still have that book somewhere. But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like that was also, it was kind of interesting throwing like their like sci-fi zombie thing into the mix. It worked. I think it worked. It added like a new element to the game, a new enemy. I think that they kind of beat the flood over the head with like you over the head with the flood throughout the games a little bit too much, but
Yeah.
it definitely worked in the first one.
One of the most interesting parts of Halo 1 is the endlessly replayable scenarios where you can watch Covenant forces fight the Flood over and over again for just completely different results. It's actually quite fascinating on the higher difficulties. You can like root
Yeah.
for one side.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It's next time you play Halo 1 and you're doing I think keys, you'll see there'll be a lot of sections where the Covenant are duking it out with the Flood, and they just it's just a fucking brawl. It's a slap fest, dude. It's dope.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then, you fight whoever survives. So it's
Yeah, it's
kind
great.
of interesting.
You can like pick and choose. You can be God. You can like get your sniper rifle, and you're like, I favor the Covenant this time. I don't fucking
Just like you did when you were in Afghanistan.
God.
No.
I only burned down a few villages. Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
they're not going to make a movie about him for another 10 years.
Those
so.
are rookie numbers. Now, really quick, the entire story is Americans trying to police the world and save it from religious extremists. When did I write that?
You were probably high. I don't know.
I was absolutely. We gotta remember, guys. 2001. This is post 9/11. Who knows what they did with this story? I'm just saying, maybe it was intentional. All the soldiers are American, except for that British guy.
Except for
the
plethora of British soldiers. Half the cast are British.
Wild amount of British soldiers, and other than them, it's all British and American. There's nothing in between.
Well, it's an American game. You know what I mean? Like, I think they probably just hired whoever they could get on the cheap because they didn't know this game was going to be successful.
No, they really didn't. Bungie was really rolling the dice with this one. They had previously completely reconstructed the game from I think it was a third-person real-time strategy game, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, but they got bought out by Microsoft, and Halo was not supposed to be as successful as it was.
It wasn't even supposed to be on the Xbox. I think it was supposed to be on PC and Mac before they cut a deal with them to make it an Xbox exclusive for the time because they needed some sort of big game to drop for the console because I don't remember how sales were for the original Xbox, but I don't think they were particularly strong before this. So
no, Halo was absolutely Xbox flagship. I bought an Xbox specifically. I shouldn't say. Daddy bought me an Xbox specifically for Halo. Like that game was, everybody had to have it. That's all everybody at school talked about. It's all I thought about. It really did revolve. My entire life revolved around that game for years after I started playing it.
Halo was life, bro.
And just like the games, it was, the relationships you get through it just keep evolving too. It's
at first I liked you.
Exactly, at first. And then we stopped playing Halo, and that's what happens. I haven't liked myself in a while. Let's go. Is Keys becoming part of the Flood symbolic of us becoming as bad as the monsters we fight? Pope, go.
No, Captain Keys is actually a very stoic and heroic character throughout the entire game, so I don't really see how there's usually descent into madness when it comes to a hero becoming a villain, and he's just kind of a hero the entire time. Yeah,
I think he kind of maintains who he is. That's which is pretty important.
I think it fucking is. I think it's symbolic. I'm not saying Keys becomes a bad guy. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying is
he gets infected by the war. By the fucking Flood. All right, Halo 2. What is the plot, guys? I don't remember it. You tell me. Oh wait. No, not Halo 2 yet. Really quick. I just want to talk about that last the last level, exploding the ring and having to get off. How baller was that level?
It was pretty fun. So like basically the plot of the original Halo, right, is that you land on the Halo ring. You're trying to find a way off, figure out what's going on. You find out the Covenant are going to use this, right? It's a weapon, and they're going to use it. So, you kind of do some exploring, yada, yada, yada. You get to a point where you realize this is a Forerunner technology, right? So Forerunner technology, we haven't really gone into Forerunners too much. They didn't explain them too early on, but they were an ancient civilization. And these weapons can only be activated by a human. So the Master Chief is the one that's supposed to activate it. But what it does is it destroys all life, right? And it's supposed to stop the Flood from basically taking over all life. So in the end, you can activate it and kill it, but obviously the Chief doesn't want to kill all of humanity. So that's not really an option. So the ring winds up getting destroyed, and you have to get the fuck off of there. And one of the most intense escapes of the last level. It's great. I mean, the ring's collapsing around you. There's a Covenant. There's Flood attacking you, and you're driving your warthogs and shit. It's so much fun.
And the music.
Yeah, the music's badass in this game.
Oh, what an incredible soundtrack. I think the whole soundtrack itself was awesome. I never really noticed a game soundtrack before that.
The Halo soundtrack is still beloved today. I'm pretty sure it's a big TikTok meme at the moment still, even, the one where they're singing, the one where they're all singing the monks in the bathroom, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's so iconic,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
If you hear that song, immediately. There's no hesitation. That shit's hits me in my soul, that menu screen. Just, oh, man.
Oh, yeah. As soon as you hear that, and it just brings back all the memories, man. Oh. Pope, what's your favorite level from the first game?
Probably Keys, because of the unique Covenant Flood interactions. It's a really replayable level.
What about you, Ty?
I have two. I have when you first land on Halo, and I also the library, just because how intense it is.
Yeah, I think the library is probably my favorite as well.
It has some of my best and worst memories.
Now, is there anything we want to cover about the lore before we move on to 2? I mean, I guess you're doing an awesome job, Ty, just describing exactly what's happening. I think the only other thing I want to mention is that, yes, we know that now Chief is this super soldier who is, for as far as we know, the last of his kind. It seems like he's all that's standing in between humanity and extinction from the Covenant. But with him, he does have Cortana. Cortana is an AI. It's artificial intelligence that exists in the future. But she is one of a kind. And from what I understand, they've never paired a Spartan up with an AI until this point.
Yeah, the Mjolnir suits that were implemented with the AI chips, the Spartans had essentially just gotten them when the Rune Reach was attacked, so they really didn't have time to, and also not enough supply of smart AIs either. Those are very rare and very expensive to make.
Yeah, and I think we really failed to mention, that armor is so important too. It's, obviously the Spartans are enhanced on their own, and, without any armor, they can fuck somebody up. But you put them in that armor, they have shielding. They, it protects them from all kinds of
faster.
Yeah,
they can operate in vacuum.
Exactly, and it really enhances their abilities even more. So, the Master Chief is kind of a killing machine.
Yeah, and with Cortana helping him out, I mean, in the games and the books, they do a pretty good job, I think, of telling you, what kind of character she is. But she's awesome in that she's snarky, where Chief is a little more stoic, like you said, Pope. He doesn't really talk. He's not used to it. He doesn't want to complicate the mission. Cortana is there, with all the one-liners and the wisecracks, and she has a lot of personality, and it's really a great balance to see how they grow together throughout the series.
Absolutely, their relationship is it's kind of vital, right? Because I think it's the most important relationship that you really experience throughout the games.
Man, the Cortana Master Chief relationship is really something special, and I'm really looking forward to where they go with it in Halo 6.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'll.
Don't worry, we got 7 more games to get through because there's spinoffs too.
No, that was obviously sarcasm. Any relationship that they built up, they destroyed immediately at the end of Halo 5.
but it doesn't take away from the great games that we have, such as
Wrong.
Halo
It does.
2.
Halo sucks now. Abandoned ship.
Halo 2 is where the player assumes the role of either the human Master Chief or the alien Arbiter in a 26th century conflict between the human United Nations Space Command, the Genocidal Covenant, and the Parasitic Flood.
Yeah, we see this game start off with two storylines at the same time. After that Halo ring explodes, Master Chief is being, awarded. I don't think he's being rewarded. He's being appreciated. They give him a medal and stuff. They give him new armor. And meanwhile, the elite who should have stopped the Master Chief didn't do it. He's one of the members of the Covenant. He is being berated and stripped of his rank and being forced into shame to become the Arbiter.
You're talking about Thel Vadam, right? Legitimate. You should show some fucking respect.
What's going on? What's
right,
really
Thel
happening?
Vadam is a great warrior, okay? He single-handedly... the Arbiter. Never mind.
The Arbiter.
I'm starting to realize you guys
what does he do?
You guys don't know much about the lore.
We're fucking filthy casuals and we tricked you.
I did know once, but Halo died. So the Arbiter was a great warrior who failed in the original Halo, right? So he failed to stop the Master Chief and to take the Halo ring. And so he's given the title of the Arbiter, which is, it's shameful, right? It's given upon a warrior as kind of like, you need to reclaim your honor, or more or less, and he's given that title, and he's put on missions for the Prophets and for the Covenant to do so.
And he's voiced by the incomparable Keith David.
He really is.
So good.
Yeah, Keith David's amazing.
What I thought was interesting here is at the beginning, Chief is talking about how he doesn't really want all of this recognition. And Johnson is like, listen, folks need heroes to give them hope. He's talking about like how, there's kind of this pageantry that's associated to keep morale high, which is also something we very much do in real life, too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Pope, do you think that soldiers are showcased correctly, too much, not enough, in the media when we're talking about like movies and commercials and everything like that?
I call it the military circle jerk. All right, so whenever they portray soldiers, that's all it is. It's just a circle jerk. It's just feel good. They're trying to get a certain crowd. Soldiers, in my personal experience, are largely stupid, very stupid. That's just me, though.
Well, you're a smart guy.
Yeah, well, if nothing else, he's experienced. I don't want to. So yeah, are there a lot of Army legacies like Miranda Keyes?
No, I guess every unit has their own little personal heroes from like World War I or World War II.
I mean, like somebody who, their parents did it, so they do it.
I guess.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because like police do that a lot.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a common thing there. I honestly am not sure. I'm curious about that as well. If a lot of people are like, what, my father served, so I'm going to serve. But I guess it depends on the situation, because if your dad like died in war, you might be like, fuck that. I don't know. I think one cool thing you start to see in Halo 2, just to bring it back around, is you start to see dissent among the Covenant, right? Because now they've learned, or some have learned what the Halo rings really are, and what their purpose is. So, I think the Arbiter's first mission is to hunt down some of those, rebels and kill them. Yeah.
The dissenters, yeah.
That's
Wait, I promise I'm going to bring it back to you. I won't get distracted, but just so you know, in the show notes, I'm going to include numbers about sexual assault in the armed forces, because Johnson has to say, I know what the ladies like, and then it got me thinking. So I'll have those numbers, I'll have those statistics, and I will put them in the show notes for no other reason than ruining people's days. I don't think
iconic
it
line.
is an iconic line.
I know what the ladies like.
Johnson has nothing but
you,
iconic lines.
Johnson knows what the ladies like. That's not even a question.
Sure. Wait, does Carlos say that too? What does Carlos say in Resident Evil 3?
Oh, come on, Mike. You don't know? It's the accent, man.
What does he say?
The ladies love it.
I know what the ladies like. He says it like that?
Yeah, just like that, actually. Nailed it.
My name's Carlos.
Yeah, I know what the ladies like was
Zombie.
actually a required line in video games from 1999 to 2006.
Oh, that's right.
So,
That's right.
every game has it, even Mario and anything you can imagine.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember he goes, I know what the ladies like. That was... Actually, that's more like Mickey Mouse.
That was like Mickey Mouse having a stroke. Holy fuck. Oh, wow.
I know what the ladies like.
So I know when I first played Halo 2, I was kind of disappointed. I remember my mom picked me up from school and she had it in the car and I was like, yes, like went home, played it. And I'm like, why the fuck am I playing this like Covenant dude? I was like, I want to play the Master Chief. You know, I was so mad about it.
Yeah, that's like, it's like playing, in a post 9/11 world. It's like I'm playing Al Qaeda. like that's what happens. You're fighting against the religious extremists in the first game, and then in the second game you got to be like, all right, but let's just see.
Yeah,
their
I mean,
side.
obviously, reflecting back on it, it's a great way to tell his story and to, tell more of a story in the Halo games. But at the time, I was kind of bummed. Definitely wanted to play the Master Chief a little bit more, but it wound up
Back to
working
the
out.
demo,
Yeah.
the E3 demo
I
that they
didn't
showed
mind
for
his
Halo
level.
2 was
Sorry?
Incredible. It was mind blowing, and then you never
Yeah.
really got to do exactly what you was shown in the demo. It really did bounce around a whole bunch more. You never really got to do a whole bunch of Master Chief stuff.
Yeah, I always felt like the Halo 2 campaign is good, but it was never great to me. Not in the way like Halo 1 had grabbed me in that regard.
It's almost like Master
but
Chief is a side
obviously-
character to the Arbiter.
Yeah, exactly. It was a weird choice, But I'm glad they introduced the Arbiter as being such an important character. I'm glad that you get to play him. I just wish the Master Chief had gotten a little more screen time in that game. But they did kind of work it out more in Halo 3 later on. But yeah, it was a cool like back and forth, like seeing them on their missions, and obviously they're still on different sides through most of the game until towards the end when they start to align with each other.
This is the first game, I think, in which we meet the ODST, the Orbital Drop Shock Troopers.
I
correct in that?
Johnson's an ODST, so but I mean he
Motherfuck.
wasn't really a character in Halo 1. Even though he had a character in Halo 1, he wasn't a character. He was just a nameless Marine that they brought in.
Yeah, no one was really well developed in Halo 1. I mean, I think that's kind of like a common thing. They
It was
really didn't.
Cortana and like Guilty Spark.
Yeah,
The most
Guilty
developed
Spark was pretty
characters.
cool. He had a great character. No, but yeah, I don't think they really were like delving into the characters too much in the first one. And they're like, all right, fuck, this is a franchise now. Like, we got to start building up some characters. So they introduced Miranda Keyes, the daughter of Captain Keyes from the first one. Johnson gets more lines. The Arbiter becomes a central character. I believe they introduced Tartarus, right, in this one. He was like the main brute you get to meet.
Yeah, and the prophets, like they definitely do a lot more world building here.
Absolutely,
You get to see
yeah.
what things are like on the other side.
The first one was very like contained on Halo, like this is what's going on here and like what led up to it. But now you're like, all right, we're out and about, we're seeing what's going on, meeting different characters, fighting in different places.
Would you say that there's too much storytelling in Halo 2?
Yes,
At some
Definitely.
points, yeah. The fucking cutscenes go so long.
definitely.
Now, in the actual lore, especially like if you've read the books and stuff, that the ODST, they don't necessarily like the Spartans. I think a lot of soldiers are wary of them because it's not like Master Chief and the Spartans are like a specific branch of the military or whatever. Like they are freaks compared to these regular soldiers. Their augmentation has made them way larger than your average person would be. And it seems almost like they're scared of them. They don't
I
like
think the
them.
ODST also feel threatened by them because they were kind of like the hottest motherfuckers around before that. They were the guys that they literally would drop like through hell, right? They were like hell jumpers, they were called. They were dropping into battle zones, and they were the tough guys. Now you got these Spartans who are like beyond them. And that kind of sucks, I don't think people get threatened when they feel like their place in society has been dropped down. So like in terms of being the top soldiers, they're not
Yeah,
anymore.
well, they're broken in Halo Wars, so.
Yeah, they really are.
What branches of the military don't like each other, Poe?
It really the only like rivalry, I guess, is the Army and the Marines. Pretty much both those branches agree. All the other branches are kind of jokes, right? But
Oh,
yeah,
really?
pretty much, yeah. Like the Coast Guard and shit. Come on, National Guard. Okay.
I think the Coast Guard are the most badass, personally, but
I mean, not enough people are watching the coast, I feel.
yeah, when Atlantis rises up to fucking take back the world, you're gonna be glad the Coast Guard was there watching. All right, just putting that out there.
That's right. Yeah, I know. Like, there's this whole like thing with the with the National Guard and stuff. Because I have a few other friends who are veterans, and like they're always posting memes and everything. So you're saying it goes. So it's Army and Marines, and then, what do people think of the Air Force?
No, the Chair Force.
Oh, I don't know, man. People watch Top Gun, and they're like,
guess
"Fuck yeah, Air Force."
That's all you had to say. All right, there's it. What about the Navy?
I ain't got no beef with the Navy.
I don't think you have beef with anybody, Pope.
No, man, he's just chilling. He's just chilling.
But the next note I had. You guys remember punching the shit out of Regret? Not like we do in real life. I mean, like
it wasn't. You didn't just punch
the prophet
him.
Regret in the
you
game.
straddled him. It was
yeah.
And he would go, oh.
Don't hit.
I can't wait to replay this and do that again, because it was very satisfying, I feel.
No, it was a very very poorly designed boss fight, actually. Halo 2 is a broken mess of a game that was unfinished.
Yeah, I think that's the other issue too, is where like Halo 1 was a little more polished than Halo 2 was, and obviously Halo
2 was rushed. It did not make its deadline, but that game was extremely buggy, and all the more lovable because of its bugs, actually.
Which is crazy, though, because Halo 1 was released in 2001. Halo 2 didn't come out until 2004. So it wasn't like they pumped it out the next year. Like, they had 3 years to finish it, but they just obviously did not.
Well, obviously there was a lot of pressure on Bungie at the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Microsoft was like, we need to keep fucking selling consoles, so give us new Halo. It's all we got.
Well, yeah. Well, imagine that for Bungie, Halo 2 was a big... for Microsoft, Halo 2 was the big deal. Like, it was the thing that was going to sell the Xbox 360, honestly. Even though it was an Xbox One game.
Would you say that Bungie was being stretched too far?
Well played.
I would. Last note about this game that I had. There's no way the Sangheili armor fits those brutes. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so there's a plot point where obviously the brutes begin to take their place as the right hand of the prophets instead of the elites, and they attempt to kill the Arbiter, which forces him down into the Flood, because Flood just keep coming back. They keep fucking coming back. They just don't stay dead, and the Gravemind winds up getting the Master Chief and the Arbiter, and he's like, listen, those Covenant are going to activate these rings and fuck all our days up. So why don't you guys work together and stop them? And that's how the Chief and the Arbiter wound up teaming up.
Let's talk more about how our interactions in Halo 2, how we met and stuff. That sounds more interesting, honestly.
Yeah, so the thing about this game is it introduced multiplayer, right? So online multiplayer, because Halo 1 did have multiplayer, but it was not online. And I think this game was the most played Xbox Live game for many, many years. I think at least 3 years had the highest numbers. And it kind of, I think it did something no other multiplayer game on consoles had done back then. It had like a matchmaking system. You could have lobbies where you could play with friends. You can invite them to your custom games. Like, it had its own like whole world on the multiplayer in which you can make friends and meet people and play with each other. And I don't think any other console online had really done that yet.
Yeah, it really set the pace and like revolutionized the way we do gaming.
Halo 2 did Xbox Live better than Xbox Live did, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Halo 2's messaging system was very ahead of its time.
It really was. I have so many fond memories from Halo 2. It was, I think Pope and I have joked on many times, it was the best time of our lives.
Yeah, it really was. There were nights that we would just sit in a party chat because Halo 2 had party chat before Xbox Live had party chat.
Yep. I would literally fall asleep in a chat room with my friends.
Every night.
I would have the mic on and
dude,
just be passing out.
Our Halo lobbies were popping, dude. Everybody wanted in. It was like a club. There were like
Seriously.
bouncers, people waiting in line.
Yeah, we literally had a waiting list. Like, people would be messaging me like, "Hey, can I get into that game?" Like, "Oh, I got 3 people ahead of you, man. I'm sorry. I'll get you in as soon as I can." You know. And then you'd have people who like would break the rules, so we'd fucking bounce them.
Yeah, but every
We'd
once
just
in a while
bounce
you get
them
an
out.
MVP, right? So you gotta like find a pleb to like kick them out.
Exactly. It was funny because like we were all in high school, but like we were doing some like really adult shit. Like, for example, since I was like the guy who was inviting people, I didn't want to be the bad guy. So when we had to kick somebody, I'd give it to like Pope or Booch or something. Like,
We were
like,
the
you kick
enforcers.
him. Like, you got to kick him. Yeah. Like, I can't be that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I got to be the guy. It's like a politician. Like, I'm your friend, man. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, Ty was
I'm
very
the cool guy.
very much a malevolent god. It was
It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's what bred the legend of the Rel. The thing about multiplayer on this game is that's what got me into Halo in the first place. I never really played the first game. I wasn't into first-person shooters, but it was something that was fun to do with my best friend, and then other friends who I would meet online through that. And it wasn't even like one of the mainstream matchmaking styles. I would just until I got really obsessed with it, but I would just play the custom games with you guys and have so much fun doing it.
I mean, the really important thing was that, where Xbox Live today or PlayStation, you have like your party chat, right? Or your private chat where you can be playing any game and you're talking to somebody. So when you play online or you play a multiplayer game, a lot of times people don't have their mics on, or they're talking in a private chat. When you played Halo 2, you were talking in the game. So that's how you met a lot of friends. Like, that's how I met all my friends on there. You would just play them in different games or meet them in custom games, friends that you had made. So, like, it really built a community, which could be toxic at times. We had a friend who was a girl, and we were playing with her, and guys would be saying the most fucked up stuff to her, and we'd all be like, no, like, her Knights of China, we got to defend her, but we would always lose.
She had that VIP status.
She did. She really did.
She was put right up there. She was put right up there on that pedestal for sure.
She really was. But it was cool because you would just make friends from playing a game. Like, I'd be fucking fighting some dude, and we'd just be like making jokes and shit, and then all of a sudden, like, hey man, like, let me send your friend request, and then all of a sudden they'd be a part of your crew too. And it was a really great way to stay social and make a lot of friends. And we were able to build that fan base up for our games, our custom games, because, like, no joke, they were really popular.
Wow, that's so
They
true.
were really fucking popular. Like, we would just get on and, like, we were like, all right, we're doing custom games all night. Like, you would never not have enough players. Like, there was always somebody who wanted in.
Let's get through Halo 3. Biggest thing I loved about Halo 3 is the Believe campaign. Like, all the media they put out before the actual game to promote it was incredible.
I remember being in school, in class, you'd be showing me the videos on the computer, be like, oh, well, let's watch this real quick. Like, it was just, you could not want to watch that stuff. Like, they did such a good job of building the hype. And there was that amazing trailer that Pope mentioned earlier, where like, the Master Chief's been knocked down. You hear, like, bombs going off, and they actually show. I think they show him as a little kid, right?
They show
there's
the
at least a
beginning
little
of the
kid.
beginning is two children speaking to each other, and it's really sort of surreal, and it turns into almost like a horror film.
Yeah, and then he's laying there, and they're like, oh, like, has anyone seen the Master Chief? Like, where is he? Like, and he's like, I think we lost him, and he goes, not yet, and he gets back up and he charges, and he just jumps into like an army of brutes because he's never gonna stop. And they built up this hype around him as a heroic figure that will never stop fighting for humanity. And it was so fun, and even though it was a video game, it was kind of inspiring. Like, I remember being like in high school and be like, this guy's like, he's fucking great. I actually my senior quote was from Halo. It was a hero need not speak, for when he is gone, the world will speak for him. Because I loved Halo so much, and it was just so special to me. That was my senior quote. Like, I was like, that's what it's all about.
My senior quote.
What was your senior quote, Pope?
Oh, I know what the ladies like. That was my senior quote.
And Booch's like was the accent. The ladies love it. All right, so It all comes together.
Yeah. I was the accent ladies love it, and then of course, there was Pope's old brother in arms, that guy who would fuck with him and works at Chili's. His was, I know what candy they like. So it all comes back around. And a big part of this campaign also was that they were telling you basically that the Master Chief was dead. Like, that's how the game was going to end. That Master Chief was going to die in action, and that they were, but he saved the world in doing so, something like that. So it kind of had you on the edge of your seat the whole game. You're like, is this the last time I'm going to be meeting this
I definitely
character?
thought he was going to die. I think 100% I thought he was dead at the end of that game.
I knew there was going to be a Halo 4, so I kind of figured he'd live.
You knew there was going to be a Halo 4 back in 2000.
I had inside knowledge.
2007.
My dad works at Halo, so
He looks on a Halo ring. He's got the most inside knowledge.
So yeah, our Halo 3 community really did fall apart. Our Halo community really did fall apart in Halo 3, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Halo 3 was probably the most well put together package as a whole, right? Like, the campaign was pretty strong. The multiplayer was good. Like, it wasn't super buggy. It was obviously the end of the trilogy. So, like, I think it took aspects from the first and second games and did a really good job with it. But I think the problem was that the Halo 3 multiplayer was so finessed and so not buggy that it actually made it not fun. Because they tried to, like, co-op everything, right? Like, they took, like all the custom games and made them official. Like, but they were always, like, slightly changed to where it, like, kind of took away from it.
Halo 2 was such a buggy game that you could spend hours and hours not even actually playing, just in a custom game, dicking around with vehicles, trying to break the physics, trying to get out of the map, trying to do what's called super bounces, where you just fly into the fucking air. All kinds of fun stuff. And that's what we did, honestly. I feel like we spent more time just playing around in custom games.
Yeah, I agree.
Than we did actually playing Slayer or anything like that.
What was that thing that online players could do to make your game super laggy? Do you remember what that was called?
I don't remember exactly what it was. Suffice to say, there was like a button on the router that you press that would make your connection shit, and then they could. But that was like every game, yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it
I can't remember what it
was.
was called now, but I remember like they would always do it to me. Like,
that's what we call it.
Standby, yeah. And I would just fucking stay in the game the whole time. They'd be like, "Just quit, kid. Just quit," because like I was obviously never gonna win. But they had a way for me to respawn every time. But yeah, Halo 3 got rid of like all that. And like I feel like that was all the charm, right, of like a Halo 2 multiplayer. It was what made it so special, because it really made the community have to come together to explore this stuff and learn and play with it. Where Halo 3 was like, they were telling you what to do. Yeah, like it was too good. It's like, oh, here you go. Here's your zombies.
What I would say, the biggest problem with Halo 3 is that Xbox introduced party chat to its systems, and I think that really did gut our community at the very least. When you were playing Halo 2, you had to be in a Halo 2 party.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it wasn't like the only way you could hear a high schooler yelling the N-word at somebody was if they were in your party already, as opposed to the other Halo gameplay where you would just hear some random kid calling it out.
Oh my God,
like,
it was said a lot. Yeah, I mean, the party chat system was really, really cool. But really ruined the community. Absolutely. Because all of a sudden, I was playing Dead Rising. This guy was playing, I don't know, what other games were on 360? Crimson Skies, was that 360? I don't know. Like, maybe we were just playing whatever. It might have been the original. Like, you could just be playing whatever game you wanted, and you'd be chatting, and then, like, let's say you decided to play Halo. You're like, oh, well, let's just talk in a private chat, like in a party chat. So, like, why would you ever have to talk to the other people in the game? So it eliminated that, which was obviously a bummer. It really did kill the community.
Halo 3 really streamlined everything. They fixed a lot of the bugs. But the thing that was really frustrating about Halo 3 was they gave you all these tools in the Forge to craft your own maps and do whatever you want. But if you tried and recreated any of those old scenarios from Halo 2, like the Tower of Power, stuff like that, it didn't work. It just didn't work properly. It was a real shame.
Yeah, it really was. I get why they did it. Obviously, they knew how popular those game types were.
No, I just think it was just they didn't really take it into consideration.
Yeah.
So the story of this game is kind of what blindsided me, because we don't really see like a lot of expression from Chief until probably the end of Halo 2, when he has to leave Cortana behind and start the next game without her, and he's like kind of like, ooh, like I don't want to leave you, and she's like, nah, you got to leave me. So I'm paraphrasing, but that was probably my favorite part of Halo 3 and Halo 4 was just their relationship together.
Yeah, I think in general they really raised the emotional stakes in this game. They killed a lot of main characters, like Miranda Keyes tries to do this heroic thing. She gets murdered. Johnson gets killed, but he goes out, with a bang, being a hero. Chief and Arbiter have to fight side by side. Obviously Cortana is she gets separated from Chief a couple times, right? He has to find her and get her back from the flood, and there's some really cool stuff there. And obviously it culminates in that wonderful ending where the Arbiter, Chief, and Cortana get off the Halo ring, and their ship gets sliced in half, right? And the Arbiter winds up falling back to Earth, but Chief doesn't make it. He's floating through space with no way to communicate or travel. And he has to go into hibernation with Cortana watching over him, and it's just it's very emotional. And the first time I played it, I thought Chief had died because I was at my friend's house, and when we beat the game, we had to turn it off like during the credits, so I didn't know that he survived. So I thought the ship got sliced in half and he was just fucking dead. So I remember I went home, I was like, man, and then obviously like I was playing it over and over again, so I beat it again. I'm like, oh shit, he lived! He lived! I was like, yes!
What a nice little treat to find.
Yeah, I was, man, I needed it, let me tell you.
We're starting to get into the Halo's not as good anymore territory.
So, the end of this game, it culminates in some of the Covenant having joined alongside the humans, like the elites and things like that, fighting back against the brutes and the prophets. And, the humans and the Covenant that have an ally with them, they win in the end. They do defeat the Covenant. There's this great memorial at the end of the game showing like all the heroes of the war, and I believe the Master Chief is actually on there because they don't know if he made it or not, right? The last one that saw him was the Arbiter, who saw the ship get destroyed and disappear into space, so they don't know if he's ever going to make it back. But yeah, so it was kind of cool because they didn't have to annihilate all of the Covenant. They're still out in the world, and now I believe the Arbiter, I think he gets made the leader, right? I think later on in the other games he's kind of in charge, and you kind of see they have to build a relationship now in the universe where they're not going to try to annihilate each other anymore. The flood has been defeated, hopefully, so it seems. And there can be some sort of peace, more or less. So Halo 3 kind of, it could end there. That could be the end of the story. But they do leave it with that cliffhanger of Chief, wake me when you need me. And I think if you beat the legendary version of the game, there's a blue light that shines on Chief's ship, on what's left of his ship at the end there. So it's kind of like a,
oh, I didn't.
Yeah, it's only if you beat the legendary version. It's kind of a hint of like, oh, is there going to be another one?
I think Booch is trying to tell us something. He never beat Halo 2 on or Halo 3 on legendary.
Wow.
Whoa.
Casual.
Okay, guys, let's not.
Am I right?
Let's not go crazy over here. I'm sure I've beaten it on legendary once or twice. I'm sure I did. Yeah, just want to go back to that memorial real quick because there is this thing in the Halo universe where, since Spartans are like the most badass of badasses, they're not allowed to die. That any time a Spartan is killed, they just say missing in action to keep the morale of the troops.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of cool. They're just missing in action, but it's also kind of misleading, right? Like it's kind of an interesting way to manipulate people's emotions into not not telling them outright that they're dead.
Well, war is mostly propaganda, so.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Perfect. I didn't even have to
That's
ask
the quote of the night.
Yeah, but Chief actually is the only one they let die, technically. I mean, his file, we find out later on, reads missing in action, but they put his number on that memorial, which is unprecedented. They've never done that with any other
Well, I
Spartan.
think Chief fought alongside a lot of these people. We didn't really bring it up, but the Covenant actually come to Earth. They invade Earth. After they destroy Reach and all that, they come to our home planet. They bring it right to us, and like we're up against the wall, and Chief's there fighting side by side with the Marines and the Arbiter and Johnson and all these people. And I think he makes a really lasting impact on people. He's kind of this figure of hope in all this darkness. He does unbelievable things. He literally like flies through the atmosphere and crashes on Earth, and he's still alive, right? Like he just keeps getting back up. And I think, it's almost like a respect thing, putting his number on that memorial, saying, we're not going to forget who he is. He's not going to just be missing in action. Like, people will remember his, 117.
Yeah, and the probably sadder part of that ending, at least for me, was when, like, Cortana's like, oh, it'll take a while for someone to find us. Could be years. But, like, she seems kind of content with it, like, as long as she's with John. And then he puts himself into cryo sleep, which is the same way the first game started. Like, it's like he's not a person. He is a weapon to be used whenever he needs to. And he says, wake me when you need me. Like, that still sends chills through my body, that quote. But, like, it is just so sad.
Well, it's been almost his entire life. He's been a weapon. He was kidnapped as a child and raised to be this soldier. So, I don't think he has anything else, right? He doesn't have things that he likes. He just fights and he survives, and that's what he does.
Any opinions on that, Pope?
Yeah. I mean, Master Chief doesn't. I think they say that the Spartans are pretty much sociopaths. So aside from working together in their tight knit groups, they don't really interact with anybody, honestly.
And Pope is also a sociopath. He has no interests, no likes. So he's very, very similar to the Master Chief, and that's why we brought him here.
That is true.
In between all the killing he does. And the last note about the Halo 3 multiplayer, they also added some stuff that to like kind of like spice it up. They added like new what would you say, items, I guess, like that, like a shield, like, right? That's where they introduced the bubble shield, which is also in the campaign. Like they introduced like all these. Yeah, I would say they were mostly not great. I don't think people really enjoyed them. I think the bubble shield was probably the coolest one, just because Chief used it.
And that's mostly because of the trailer.
So people wanted to use it. And you can do some cool stuff with it, but I feel like it was an unnecessary addition to an already really solid multiplayer. And Halo, I think, was the first game to introduce the 2-weapon system, where you could only carry 2 weapons and your grenades. And so you had to be really, really particular, especially in the campaigns, where, what weapons you wanted to bring with you. So I always thought that was a really cool element. You couldn't just like stockpile weapons, you had to really pick and choose. And everybody had their favorites, whether it was the BR or the DMR, the Halo 1 pistol, the Needler.
Oh my God.
There was all kinds of, I think most players preferred the human weapons over most of the Covenant weapons.
Unless you were a noob tuber.
And in multiplayer, yes, in the multiplayer, you could use the Covenant weapons to kind of, I wouldn't say cheat, but to definitely take advantage. A lot of them were shield draining weapons, so you could quickly switch to a human weapon, which would easily kill somebody who had no shield. So they definitely added some different style choices depending on what weapons you chose. But yeah, there was a lot of things that Halo did that I feel like really were revolutionary for first person shooters, the whole genre as a whole, and that's why they were remembered so fondly. They did a remaster of all of them, right? The Master Chief Collection, which I think was, people were really excited about. I remember we were at Comic-Con and we got to actually see like the remaster a little bit there, and it was amazing. Like you could actually switch between the original graphics and the new graphics and see just like how much they changed. And it was, that was so cool, right? Like I never really had seen something like that before.
Wow, I completely forgot.
Yeah, like there was a lot of love
insane.
put into that as well. So I think they knew like how popular the Halo series was, and how much fans really like cherished those memories and playing through them.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
When I'm playing the remastered Halo Combat Evolved, and I have to fight the flood, sometimes I'll go back to the original graphics so they're not as scary looking.
That's amazing.
It's funny you say that because the Halo 1 remaster actually kind of ruined the 343 Guilty Spark level for me.
Really?
Yeah, the one where you're introduced to the flood. You're like, it's like a horror level. You're like going through all these corridors, and there's like all this blood and corpses everywhere. In the remaster, they kind of clean it up. They don't make it. It's not so profound. It's not so dirty and dingy. It's a little bit too nice, actually.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
But
like,
it kind
Yeah, I
of takes
definitely
away
see
the
what you mean.
atmosphere, you know. It's one of those.
Yeah, definitely. I can understand that.
so I'm ready to go straight into Halo 4.
Well,
which
we should probably go to
I
Halo
absolutely
Reach
love.
because I think that was Bungie's last game.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Halo Reach. All right, all you cool grunts and Spartans, we're going to put a pin in it right there. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and make sure to join us next week for part 2 of our Halo Deep Dive. In the meantime and between time, we're going to ride out on Martin O'Donnell's original score from the Halo 2 soundtrack. This is the Halo theme Mjolnir mix. It's the theme with some awesome guitar riffs and rock in there. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I do. Remember, no matter what you're watching, no matter what you're reading, no matter what you're listening to, and no matter what you're playing, never stop thinking, never stop learning, and always remember to read between the lines. All right. 1, 2, 3. Are we all recording?
Yeah, I kind of misclicked, but it was only like a half second, so.
All right, no, that's fine. That's fine. Anyway, I'm just going to... All right, here we go. Come with you. Fuck, hold on. I had it. I was going so well.
Boot, you
As
goddamn
you begin-
delinquent! You fucked it up. I'm not the fucking s'more guy. That's
I'm cutting
fucking
this out.
Spotting.
I'm cutting it out. Oh, my God. Oh, wait, that's not you?
No, you fuck. Why would I be the s'more guy?
Guys,
You used to say it a lot,
Fucking
though,
son of
To make fun of him.
that's why I thought it was you. It became, you fucking co-opted. It became your thing.
It became your thing, man.
I don't recall that at
All right.
all.
Is he on the Skype call right now?
Hello?
Oh, hey, Pope, we hear you now.
I can't hear Ty anymore.
You can't hear me?
Oh, no, I can't. You just weren't talking.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I must have missed the
Okay.
question.
So,
Definitely. Definitely.
definitely. So true.
Let's talk about custom games, zombies.
Wait, is it okay if we keep that until the end of the episode because it's like the best shit ever?
It is.
Is that I want to
well,
save
as long
the
as we
best
get to
for
talk about
last.
Tower of Power.
Oh, I want to even talk cat and mouse, bro. It's going to be
What
Yeah, I'll
about
talk
remember Troy?
SWAT.
Oh my God.
Whoa!
yeah,
Troy?
It's going to be ridiculous.
Where we all shoot the
Oh
we
my
all
God.
shoot the brute shots into the air and like
Cops and
artillery,
robbers?
and then
Ooh,
run into
topical.
the middle and beat the shit out of each other.
Beat each other down. All right, so we'll do that.